Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick update as I've just completed my second um, income declaration for Universal Credit. I'm doing this not because I feel that I'm particularly entitled to Universal Credit, I'm not, but they accepted me onto the system. Now I do have savings and those count against me, and they take off X amount of money for every so much amount of savings, which reduces down how much I get. Last month was an unusual month because I completed the clinical trials, so my income was way over because I got a lump sum from doing that trial. This month is very different. We're back to a normal situation. Now, because I'm self-employed, I have to declare everything that's incoming from all my income streams, and then everything that goes out that is related to business, related to my work. So my dates which I have to work with, and it's based on when I signed on for Universal Credit. They pick the date based on when you're accepted. My dates are the 21st of the month to the 20th of the next month. So I have to go through all my incomings and my outgoings and pick out everything that sits within those dates and do that every month. So this month's income from all my self-employed jobs is £541.90, and my outgoings are £56.80. So that means that my net income for this last 30 days or 31 days is £470.70. Now, I don't know how it works for people who are employed, people who are not employed at all, but they don't take into account your living expenses at all. So if I worked out my outgoings on a monthly basis across the year and averaged it, I think it's just over £1,000 a month to pay all my, just for everything that I do to live. However, October and just 2 days ago, I have to pay my rent, and I pay my rent every 6 months, not every month, because I don't pass credit checks, and because that's just how it's always worked. I started here on a 6 monthly contract, and then it moved to a year, but they still have me paying 6 monthly. So a few days ago, I had to pay out £3,600, which covers my rent for the next 6 months to the middle of April. So they don't take any of that into account. So as I say, this is why I have savings, and I know that there are people in the comments who get really annoyed that I'm signed up for Universal Credit and I have savings. Now, 90% of my savings I can't get at. They're in locked accounts. One or two of them draw down the interest monthly to my regular bank accounts, but we're only talking £20–30. We're not talking hundreds of pounds here. And of course, interest on my accounts counts as income for Universal Credit. So within that 500 odd pounds that I've earned, that includes any interest that I've physically had into my bank account and I could theoretically spend. So that means that right now in accessible savings, I have about £1,200 left, because I try to make sure I've got the rent money ready for when I need to pay, so I'm not late paying my 6 monthly rent. So that's all gone out. So I've got a little bit left for seesawing, because obviously, as you see there, my income of £561 isn't going to cover, well, it'll cover everything else for the month, because my rent obviously comes out in 6 months. So my £600 rent doesn't count theoretically on monthly expenses, if that makes any sense. But they're not interested in how much you spend every month on food, your energy bills, or anything like that. So as we all know, Universal Credit is a very flawed system, and I would imagine that even based on that income, I won't be getting anything from them, and I never expect to get anything from them. They've allowed me to sign up because I fit the criteria. Despite having savings, it's allowed. They wouldn't have let me sign up for it if it wasn't allowed. So to everyone who complains at me, how dare you sign up for universal credit, you're self-entitled, la-di-da-di-da, well, they accepted me. So have a word with the government, have a word with HMRC, don't have a go at me. If I wasn't entitled, they wouldn't let me on. The main reason for me doing it was because I wanted to see what the system was like. Everyone has something to say about universal credit. Some people say, get a job. How dare you ask for money from the government when you can get a job? Maybe, and there will be people on universal credit who can get jobs. I've seen the YouTube videos of people complaining about how they can't survive on universal credit, but there doesn't seem to be any reason why they can't get a job. There are people who do have work, but their jobs are so badly paid, and particularly if you're in a high rental area, or you have children, maybe you're caring for a relative, all sorts of things that create problems with the income versus the outgoings. And universal credit, of course, is not filling the gap. Universal credit is theoretically what used to be like the job seeker's allowance, which was an amount of money to pay for your absolute basics whilst you looked for work. You were supposed to go and find work. I've now managed to really tip the balance on that with the cleaning work. I now have 3 regular cleaning clients. It's only 8.5 hours a week at the moment. The app's gone very quiet, so I haven't seen any new clients coming through for a while. Sometimes you'll get one-off jobs, so if somebody has a regular cleaner, but the regular cleaner's on holiday, they might want somebody else to come in for the week or 2 weeks that they're not around. So I will get calls from the agency saying, we've got this one-off job coming up in 3 days, it's in your area, are you interested? And you can say yes or no. So if any of those come up, I will be taking those. So yeah, at the moment I'm on 8.5 hours, I think it's 8.5 hours a week of cleaning. 2 of those are businesses, 1 is private. My client, which was going to be 3 hours every 2 weeks, has now decided they want me 3 hours every week. So I've just doubled my money on that particular client. So that's great. So that's 8.5 hours at £11 an hour. And that's helping things tick over. It means I can manage the differences better. It means I am spending less of my savings on my basics. So where I now have only that £1,200 in savings available for emergencies, I won't be dipping into that as much, and particularly because of the survey's income and because I buy as much of my food as I can on discount and with gift cards and through spending, say, Nectar points or Morrison's points. I can keep my food bill down to almost zero on a monthly basis, and I'm really careful with food, etc., etc. So it kind of works itself out. So as I said, the main reason for me allowing the universal credit claim to go through and doing it is really so that I can basically talk about how the system works. So even with that £541, £470 net income, I won't get anything from them. I'm not expecting anything from them. Fair enough. That's the way it is. But if you are self-employed and are thinking of applying for universal credit, or you are already on universal credit and you just want to compare notes, really, that's my update for this month. It'll be another week before they decide how much I will get, and they give you a breakdown of why you have got money or why you haven't got money. So if you have savings and they've accounted for that, it'll tell you in the calculations where the reductions are in the money you get. So when that comes through, I will add that at a later date.